Stop saying the witches made Macbeth do it. It is the easiest reading of the play and it is the wrong one. Three strange women meet a soldier on a heath and tell him that he will be a king. He is the king by the end and dead soon after. So it looks settled. Fate spoke and a man obeyed. But look closer because the play is quietly asking a much harder question. Did the witches destroy Macbeth or did Macbeth destroy himself? And let the witches take the blame? Keep that question with you. Everything that follows is an answer to it. Let us begin where the play begins. Because Shakespeare tips his hand in the very first minute. Before we meet the hero, we meet three witches. And they leave us with one line. Fair is foul and foul is fair. It sounds like a nonsense. It is actually the key to the whole play. It tells you that in this world, nothing will mean only one thing. What looks good will be rotten. What sounds like a promise will be a trap. Hold on to that because the witches are about to make a promise. Macbeth comes off a battlefield, a hero, loyal to his king, and the witches stop him. They name him the future, the new title, and then the crown. And here is the detail that decides the entire play, and almost everyone misses it. Macbeth is not alone. The banquet is standing right beside him. Banquo hears prophecies too. His sons, the witches say, will be the kings. Two men, the same strange voices, the same taste of a promised future. Now, watch what each of them does with it. Because Banquo is the quiet taste the play is running. And Macbeth is about to fail it. Something moves in Macbeth. The moment he hears the word king, Shakespeare does not keep it secret. He takes us straight inside the man's head. This is the thing to understand about this play. The real drama is not on the battlefield or in this castle. It is inside the mind. The witches have not planted anything new. They have named a hunger that was already there. Listen to how fast his thoughts run to murder and how fast they frighten him. His wife sees it before he even speaks. She fears he is too full of the milk of human kindness. She wants the crown more plainly than he does. And she knows his weakness is not a cruelty, it is conscience. So she calls on him, the dark, to unsex her, to strip out everything soft, everything that might hesitate. And she goes to work on him, not with a knife, but with a question. Is he a man enough to take what he was promised? Notice what is really happening here. No one is forcing Macbeth. He is being tempted and he is choosing. The king comes to their castle as a trusting guest, and the night of murder arrives. And here Shakespeare does something daring. He hands us the crime early. A lesser play would build slow suspense towards the killing. This play gets it over with. Because Macbeth is not really about whether he kills the king. It is about what killing does to the man who does it. Just before the murder, Macbeth sees a dagger hanging in the air. Is it real? He asks that to himself. A dagger of the mind, he calls it. A thing drawn out of his own hot brain. This is the play showing you its true subject, a conscience beginning to come apart. And this is where a great critic helps us see it. A.C. Bardley. A.C. Bardley noticed long ago what makes Macbeth so strange among Shakespeare's villains. He has the imagination of a poet and the hands of a butcher. He can see in advance, in vivid detail, the exact horror he is about to commit. And he commits it anyway. The gap between a mind that feels everything and a will that does the worst thing is where the tragedy lives. He kills the king, and immediately the punishment begins. Long before any army marches against him, he cannot say Amen. He hears a voice cry that he has murdered sleep and that Macbeth will sleep no more. Hold that phrase. Sleep in this play is innocence and rest and a clear conscience. He just has killed all three. Now watch the blood. He looks at his hands and asks whether all the water in the ocean could wash them clean. The answer the play gives is no. Nothing washes it off because the stains is not on the hands, it is in the mind. And from there, Shakespeare shows us guilt, not as a feeling, but as a thing you can see and hear. The ghost of the murdered Banquo sits down at the feast, and only Macbeth can see him. Later, the wife who scrubbed so calmly on that night walks in her sleep, rubbing at the spot of a blood that is no longer there. Out damned spot, she says, to the clean hand, in the dark, asleep. The two of them have swapped places. The strong one breaks, and the punishment was never coming from outside. It was always the mind turning on itself. Notice too what has been driving him at the worst moments? Not just ambition, but the idea of what it means to be a man. When Macbeth hesitates, his wife does not argue about right and wrong. She attacks his manhood. When you dare to do it, she tells him, then you were a man. In this play, again and again, to be a man is refined as the willingness to kill. The gentleness, the loyalty, the conscience, all the things that make Macbeth human get recast as a weakness. And the play quietly counts the cost of that. It is haunted by the murdered children and lost heirs. Everything tender is what gets destroyed. That is part of the horror. Macbeth proves he is a man by killing a very thing a good man should protect. So come back to the witches now. And to our question, Macbeth returns to them, frightened, wanting, certainly. And they give him more promises. None of the women born shall harm him. He shall never be beaten until a forest walks uphill to his castle. He hears safely. He hears that he is untouchable. But remember the very first line. Fair is foul. Every one of these promises mean two things at once. A forest does move when an army cuts branches for a cover, and a man not born of woman turns out to be a man delivered by a surgeon. Ultimately ripped, as the play puts it, from his mother. The witches never lied to him. They told him the truth in a shape designed to deceive. And this is worth pausing on because it reaches outside the play. Shakespeare wrote this for a new king, James, who was fascinated by the witches, and he wrote it just after England had been shaken by a plot to blow up its parliament. At the trial that followed, a priest had defended the art of equivocation, lying under oath by holding a second meaning inside the honest sounding words. The word equivocation runs all through this play. Even the drunken posture jokes about equivocator knocking at the gate of hell. A world where words carry a hidden second meaning. That is the world Macbeth lives in, and it is the world that undoes him. He hears only what he wants to hear. There is a way of reading the play that makes all of this sharper, and it is worth carrying with you. The critic Caroline Spurgeon noticed that one image keeps returning in Macbeth: clothes that do not fit, borrowed robes, titles that hang on him like a giant's garment on a small thief. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Macbeth is a man wearing a crown that was never cut for him, and it never sits right. And another critic, Elsie Knights, warns us not to treat these figures as if they were real people with private lives. Read the play as a poem, he said, held together by its images, and you read it the way it was built. The clothes, the blood, the dark, the murdered sleep, these are not decorations, they are the argument. There is one more thing that play insists on. In this world, a rightful king is almost scared. When Macbeth kills the good King Duncan, the natural world itself convulses. Horses turn wild and eat one another. Darkness smothers the day. The murder is not a crime against one man. It tears the order of the whole world. And that is why the play cannot end until the true line is restored and Scotland is made whole again. Macbeth becomes a sickness the country has to cut out of itself. Now we can answer the question we started with. Was Macbeth victim of a fate? The prophecy was real. Every word of it came true. And yet, stand him next to Banquo one last time. Banquo heard the same voices, felt the same pull towards a promised future, and kept his hands clean. The witches named a desire in both men. Only one of them paid it, and hesitated, and chose again, and then killed to protect the choice. So here is the answer the play has been building towards. The prophecy is real. The choice is still his. Fate opened a door. Macbeth is the one who walked through that door and then bolted it behind him. That is why the ending lands the way it does. By the last act, Macbeth has the crown and he has nothing else. His wife is dead, his country hates him, and he looks at the whole of his life and calls it a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. That is not Shakespeare's verdict on life. It is the verdict of a man who traded his soul for a crown and found the crown hollow. Macbeth was never that ambition is evil. It is that he had ambition and the imagination and the conscience and nothing inside him strong enough to say no. If you ever write about this play, that is the reading that leaves an answer above a summary. Not the witches made him do it, but the harder true thing. The prophecy is real and the responsibility is entirely his. And Banquo is your proof. Say that with the borrowed robes and the murder sleeve as your evidence, and you are no longer retelling the plot. You are reading the play. So let me leave you with a question, and I would like a real answer in the comments. There is a single moment where Macbeth stops being the man we had met at the very beginning, the loyal soldier, and becomes something else. Where is it? Give me that one line, defend it, and I will read it. This is Dr. Vishwanath Bite, one great text at a time. See you in the next one. Bye.